Hey, hope you're doing well wherever you are today. And I want to take a moment and look a little further in Exodus chapter 13. And I really find these verses to be interesting. I just think there's some neat things happening here. It says in verse 8, on the seventh day you must explain to your children, I'm celebrating what the Lord did for me when I left Egypt. So this is a common theme throughout the Old Testament. You see the Israelites commanded by God to tell the next generation about what He did for them. The crossing of the Jordan River, they talk about this with the parting of the Red Sea, the Passover. There's multiple times that you see this. And I really like this because it shows the current generation the need for them to pass on who God is and what He has done and how faithful He is to the next generation. So that as they grow, their faith in the Lord grows, and then God does those things with them too, or maybe something different, but in a similar fashion that builds their faith and trust. So He wants us to pass that on, and that's really important for us as Christians too, that we pass on what the Lord has done in our lives, the truth of who He is to the next generation, so that their faith begins to build from a young age that then spills over into the next. So it's an important thing for the Israelites, and I think it's an important thing for Christianity, and I'm not sure we always put the focus on that we should. So it's something for us to really think about. Verse 9 says, this annual festival will be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your forehead. Let it remind you always to recite this teaching of the Lord. With a strong hand the Lord rescued you from Egypt. So observe the decree of this festival at the appointed time each year. So this visible sign here that they're talking about is interesting. It says there'll be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. Now, the Israelites took this and did something with it. They also used the passages from Deuteronomy 6 and Deuteronomy 11, and they started using what they called phylacteries. These were small boxes with little pieces of paper or parchment with scripture written on them, and they were rolled up and put inside the boxes. And the boxes were attached to their hands, right? Attached to their hands. And the little box would sit here, or they would tie them around their forehead and the box would seal their forehead. So they took this very literally, and they had this sign. And so it was a neat idea. It was a neat thing. Now, Jesus really condemned the Pharisees for this, though, because they abused this. They wore these phylactery boxes, and they were really large, and they were, one commentator called them ostentatious. I just like that word. I think it's a fun word. They were just very large, very ornate, and they were to draw attention to themselves. It was supposedly a display of greater spirituality. So the Pharisees took and twisted what the early Israelites had done and made it about them and their glory and their spirituality, how they were better than everyone else. But it's a neat thing, and you still see there are still some groups of Jewish people that do wear phylacteries, and somewhere in certain times and sometimes all the time. So it's a really, really neat thing that they took this idea from this passage and continued that forward into this idea of the phylacteries. But all of it being a reminder of what God did for them in Egypt. Have a great day.